Never underestimate your opponent. A human phrase that is heard in every strategy meeting. Well, at least it was. Humans had joined the coalition with the hopes of becoming full members, yet they also knew they had to show their worth, pay their dues if it is. This worked out well for the founding species as they did not have to force the humans to toil under extreme conditions. Conditions that barely seemed to bother humans at all, to the point that the majority of workers would eventually be humans as they worked through. Mining ore was something humans did amazingly well, and production of goods increased to a staggering amount. This would bring a lot of wealth to the core species, which allowed them to expand once again. As the core species expanded so fast that they started demanding that other species fight for them, as they just didn't have enough bodies to cover all the areas that they were expanding at the same time. Eventually, or more like hesitantly, they brought humans in to clear the planets. This worked out better than they expected. Now, you had human laborers, engineers, medical techs, and soldiers all under the command of coalition forces. With all their success, the humans began to petition the core species for full and complete membership. The core species insisted that they were taking the humans under consideration, but to enjoy all the perks of being a coalition member, they had to obey. It was around this time that the humans started to demand more pay. More financially savvy humans had figured out that the human workforce was getting paid less than 9% of what their predecessors were being paid for the same work. The core species denied this, of course, by claiming that the humans' information was incorrect. When the most dangerous of humans, the lawyers, brought the evidence, the core species simply claimed, "We are paying you what you are worth." This infuriated the humans, and it became very difficult to get more humans to toil voluntarily. The threats of expulsion from the coalition, along with unveiled threats of violence from the coalition fleets, also seemed to fan the flames of resentment from the humans more and more as time continued. This came to a head as the human military was ordered by the coalition to clear out the vermin of a newly discovered planet. This was in a sector that was on the opposite side of the core worlds from Earth. Well, almost. What the humans found shocked them to their own core. 2 humanoid species lived on that garden world. One was a very slender race and were dead ringers for elves, except their skin was a dark purple with white hair of all things. The other species were a type of homunculus that the humans called halflings. Both species had pointed ears like some sort of strange science fiction character, yet both species were still in the medieval age of development. This confused everyone, but no more than the humans. The humans charged out like stampeding armored monkeys, only to come face to face with both species in some sort of marketplace. Both species were petrified at what just ran out of the forest and stopped right in front of them. Then the humans checked their readout to make sure the atmosphere was conducive and removed their helmets. In the video everyone saw, a Click officer walked to the front of the humans, still stunned at what they were looking at, pushed the humans aside, and when the Click officer saw the locals, he drew his weapon and fired into the crowd. This core species officer only got 2 shots off before the closest human struck him in the face with his weapon, with enough force to shatter the protective lens in the front. As the other humans started screaming for a medic, the humans looked at the officer, pointed their weapons at him, and said, "Sir, you have been relieved of command." When the officer reached for his weapon, another human began putting holes through the officer's suit until he simply ran out of ammunition. Doc did what he could, but a single male was already done by the time Doc even got to him, as the round actually went straight through his torso. The locals screamed in horror as the humans descended on the other two wounded. The two halflings fought and screamed until the morphine hit their system, and then they kind of chilled out. Coalition medical technology, with a bit of human improvements, took care of their wounds. With the video going out live, the coalition leadership was infuriated. They demanded that the humans obey and cleanse the planet for the sake of the core species. In response, the humans showed what happens when you push them too damn far. Every human laborer, miner, farmer, rancher, engineer, pilot, soldier, and even more that lived in coalition space just picked up and left. They took their toys and fucked off. And this brought the economy to a crawl within hours. In response, the coalition sent the rest of their forces to cleanse the planet. That didn't happen. Not only had they seen how dangerous humans are, but this defiance against the core species echoed across the universe, and species of all types refused to aid the core species, leaving a single option. The core fleet was always kept in reserve, just in case they had to face any rebellions from other species. They mobilized quickly and headed to the contested system. On the way, the core fleet knew this would be difficult as humans, even outnumbered, are very dangerous. Their prowess in space combat is only dwarfed by their atmospheric capabilities. During the trip, the consensus among the command is that they would not be able to take the garden world from the humans. They just wouldn't be able to face them on the planet. They would likely have to glass the planet to secure a victory, if you can call it that. When the core fleet arrived, they found the invasion battle group along with other human vessels sitting there defiant in between them and the planet. This could be a costly battle as human warships are very difficult to disable, let alone destroy. Only once before did humans use their own ships, and that was when they first began military service with the Coalition. These were the very first warbirds humanity had ever built for space combat, and in that battle, they showcased a surprising agility and prowess as the ships lost even 50% of their hulls and just kept fighting. These new human ships that they were looking at them made those first warbirds look like propeller-driven aircraft. Yet, there are still so few against the best the core species have to offer. The Coalition Admiral. Open a channel. Attention humans. This is a direct order from your superiors. Surrender yourselves, your vessels, and the planet. Then be prepared to stand trial for your transgressions against the Coalition. There's no response for over a minute as they simply wait. I state again, power down your ships or we will be forced to open fire and destroy you. A human voice crackled across. You can try, but you'll have the devil's own task trying to take this planet. Who is this? Identify yourself. Me? I'm just an old infantry grunt that has had to deal with skid marks like you before. Identify yourself. They could see the human ship's weapons begin to target the Coalition ships. How dare you target your masters? You bet your ass we dare. We humans have built our culture around defiance, which is why we have so many old phrases that you should never, ever forget. So, just so you understand, this planet is now under our protection now. It can be considered human territory, the same as our home. And, as we say, if anyone comes to our home looking for trouble, they better carry a big gun. and your guns are far too small. You human... Ugh. I shall personally make you my slave, human. Our fleet has much more firepower than your pathetic force has amassed. Really? In about 22 seconds, you're going to have to check that again. Confused, the Coalition Admiral turned towards his sensors operator. The operator confirmed that a human fleet was arriving, yet they had absolutely no idea how many, as everything was just kind of blobbed together. At the end of the 22 seconds, a massive particle burst blinded most sensors as the human fold system had brought the human reinforcements. The Coalition Admiral couldn't believe his readouts and had to look at it through its own portholes and just couldn't believe what he was seeing. The massive ship looked like a small moon with 4 pylons sticking out of it. Around the center section, thousands of weapons pointed out. In the center, it looked as though it had actually not even been finished, as it was open. This is Admiral Kim of the Earth Titan class Dreadnought Harbinger. This sector is under human protection. Do you wish to challenge our claim? Taking a second to respond, the Coalition Admiral said, Captain Kim, you are ordered to stand down by the authority of the Core Species Coalition. That's not gonna happen. The way I see it, you can either face the wrath of humanity right here and now, or you can fuck off. The Coalition Admiral thought about his ships. He thought about how he would be publicly humiliated and possibly executed if he withdrew. And, of course, there was the severe damage to his pride by an upstart species. He only thought for a few moments before he reached for the comms, cutting the open comms with the human, and hitting another button sending a message to his fleet, the most advanced fleet in the universe, he believed. All ships fire at will! As their weapons heated up, the Titan class pushed forward with the center of the ship seemingly starting to glow. Though the Coalition forces did get a chance to fire first, the massive energy weapons built into the center of the Titan atomized more than 50% of the Coalition fleet in one burst. The secondary cannons all turned towards the Coalition forces and handled the rest in less than 5 minutes. A few Coalition frigates and corvettes were able to escape as they decided, fuck this, and they decided to run instead of fight. After the battle, all the species not part of the core species declared their own independence from the coalition and signed treaties with the humans, with the Titan class now basically becoming a battle moon to protect the new discovered planet. They also sent out many of their ships to protect their new allies, friends, whatever you want to call them, from the coalition counterattack. They may not have their core fleet, but they're still dangerous. Now, without some sort of oppressive regime holding them down, the younger species can begin to expand on their own, humans especially. Since they had just found halflings and elves of all things, they wondered what else might they find out there in ether. Who knows? They might even find some dragons.